Goals, resistance, and the motivation needed to see the job through. Goals. Now, we hear this term bantered around, but how do we do more than just set them and forget them, and quite often not get them? How do we overcome the resistance of actually doing the work? And how do we dig deep and find the motivation when it feels as if the well has run dry? Today's show takes all of that on. Stay tuned. Welcome to Peak Performance Habits with Jackie Elmer, where you're going to learn how to create everything you want in the core areas of your life: relationships, health and fitness, and of course, money and career. You can learn more at peakperformancehabits.com. So let me ask you, what's on your plan for achieving goals this year? Now, in the last show, I covered the word of the year experience. Hopefully you have a word of the year. Mine is substance. And I really focused on that every single day. I write that word down at the top of my journal, top of my daily thought download, and I really focus on it. How am I going to show up today as a woman of substance? What's going to be required of me to create substance of some sort, to be that person, to create that content, to have those conversations, to build on those relationships in a way that contains substance? It's really served me so far. And as I shared, I was kind of surprised when I drew that word, as I often am, and wondered how it truly served me. Now, you can go back and listen to the previous episode to learn more about that. Now, one of the things that I shared is that I also drew a word of the month for each of the 12 months of 2023. And this month, my word is constraint. Constraint is an important word because it allows me and guides me and encourages me to measure my decisions against my goals. Think about that. To measure my decisions that I'm making, the action steps that I take every single day against the goals that I set for myself. And from that, I can ask myself, is this going to move me closer to my goal or take me further from it? Now, a goal is any desired outcome that you wouldn't otherwise have happen in your life without you doing something. That's why it's so important that you can't just write it down. The purpose of any goal is not so much in the attainment of the goal itself, but who you must become, the challenges that you will face and overcome, and what you learn about yourself along the journey in pursuit of that goal. Please do take a moment to allow that to set in. The purpose of any goal is not so much in the attainment of the goal itself, but who you must become, the challenges you will face and overcome, and what you will learn about yourself along the journey in pursuit of the goal. So when I say the word goals, what does that word bring up for you? What's the feeling that you feel, the emotion? What goes on in your body? Do you feel hope? Do you feel excitement? Do you feel despair, fear, resistance? Or do you feel some combination of both? Here's what I want to encourage you. For gosh sakes, please, I want you to dream big again. I want to encourage you this year, don't shrink from your goals. Today, this week, this month, and this year, do not shrink from your goals. And I want to encourage you to go back and review show number 430, which I'll have in the show notes, what goals really mean. The why and the way of the goal are two steps that we often skip after we set the goal. And that's because most of us aren't really taught to do anything more than simply set the goal. Set the goal. The why of a goal is what provides the context and the will to see a goal through to completion. This is so important. What is the why? Why is this change, which typically is what a goal encompasses? It's some type of change that we're looking toward. Why is this change that you're working toward important to you? And why now? What will it really mean to you when you've accomplished something? Because I've been a business coach for so long and coaching around money, I often find that my clients will set an arbitrary goal of a certain dollar amount, let's say $10,000 a month. But the true question is, why? Why that amount? What's that going to provide for you more than just money in the bank, right? It's all about the feeling that we're going to feel when we experience a goal. That's why we do anything. We do everything in life either to experience something positive or avoid experiencing something negative. So the why is so important. What will it really mean? And it's important to take that answer and dig down deeper and deeper and deeper until you get to that core element and you can't go any deeper. A clear, in-depth understanding is what allows resistance to come up. I say that first because, of course, there's always going to be resistance. So that clear, in-depth understanding of your why is what's going to allow that resistance to go ahead and come up. But more importantly, that's what's going to give you the tools to keep going, to push through that resistance. When one is truly clear on the why, then the way or the how to get it is going to unfold. How and why, the way that we're going to go about getting that goal will unfold. So what I want to encourage you to do is write one goal at the top of a piece of paper. And then below it, let's chart out the steps to get there, working it backwards. The why or the goal is at the top. And then, of course, the why is written right underneath it. And then looking at that, what are those steps that you think it's going to take to get there? How do you see it unfolding? Are there certain skills that you need? Do you need to involve other people? Do you have a plan for how you're going to accomplish all of that? Now, this part's important. What habits need to be released to see your goal through, and what new habits need to be formed? So that change of behavior is going to require both releasing old bad habits and patterns and creating new positive habits and patterns to move us toward that goal. That's what's going to help develop that clear how that we're going to get there. So each day, each week, each year, I focus personally on my big five. You've heard me talk about my 5 favorite F words, each area: faith, family and friends, fitness, finance, fun. This year, fitness, family and friends, or relationships as I'm identifying it, and finance are my top 3 goals. Now, the other 2 are wrapped in my 3 goals. Fun, certainly, and faith never are far from my barometer. They're always there. But to succeed with the goals that I've set is going to require a shift in thoughts and my actions. That shifting of beliefs is so important because it's important to ask ourselves, do I have a goal or is it simply a wish? A wish is something that we think about that would be nice to have, whereas a goal is something that we truly begin to work toward. There's a big, big difference. So for me, fitness and health is my number 1 priority this year because it also releases me to thrive in other areas. At this phase and age in my life, I've learned to value some key things, and how I feel and perform and show up are top of the list for me. So as you may recall, about a year and a half ago, I started pursuing my health and nutritional coaching certification. I'm certified by the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And that was a year-long self-discovery journey. It was a huge reinforcement of many positive habits that I already had. It was a huge educational piece as I studied under amazing doctors like Dr. Mark Hyman and Deepak Chopra. Just the list goes on of the people who I studied under, whose philosophies largely I was already familiar with, and it just reinforced the education process of that. So healthy living, clean eating, and becoming much more alcohol-free, cleaning out and organizing my pantry, my closets, my space for mental health has become so important to me. Having a healthy, lean, muscular body that engages regularly in functional movement, having my walks in nature, and fueling all of that through good nutrition are so important. So setting that as a goal, setting that, healthy, healthy muscular body as a goal with functional movement, I ask myself, is this a wish or a dream? How will I know the difference? Am I willing to do the work required to achieve that goal? That's a question you have to ask yourself. Are you willing to do the work required to achieve the goal? And that includes the mindset shifts and ultimately the habit and action shifts. The problem that so many of us face is that we're conditioned for fast, easy, instant gratification with no discomfort whatsoever. We've been conditioned by marketing to believe that we should never feel any type of resistance, no discomfort. We have a pill or a potion for all of it. And often I find when I begin working with my intermittent fasting clients, the first resistance that comes up when we get past 12 hours and we start working toward 14 or 16, 18, 20, or for goodness sakes, even a 124-hour fast in a week or a month, that resistance that comes up, the first thing is, I can't fast that long. And I always like to ask, why? Why do you have that thought? Why do you have that belief? Is it that I can't fast that long? That I won't fast that long? Can't or won't is a question that I like to ask myself anytime I'm feeling resistance. I can't do this or I won't do this. And then I really spend some time in a very aware, present thought process of digging down deeper as to why I'm feeling that resistance and whether it's truly a can't or a won't. So with intermittent fasting, will I starve? Am I going to die if I go 14 hours, 16 hours? What really might happen? And so then, of course, I ask them, can you or are you willing to work through the discomfort and find a new you? Now, I recently took a trip with 65 of my closest friends. There were 66 of us, all American Airlines pilot wives. We went to Cancun on an all-inclusive stay at a resort. And anytime there's all-inclusive, that typically means a buffet with all kinds of foods that really aren't on my optimal food and fueling list. It includes plenty of alcohol if I want it. And so I had to really do some thought work on all of that. I had to remind myself that my number one goal is to start each day feeling great, feeling like a peak performer, and knowing that I have the mental and physical ability to accomplish whatever it is that's on my to-do list. That's how I want to start my day. And then when I go to sleep at night, I want to still be fully present, still feeling good, and be able to reflect back on my day and check the box of being a woman of substance, as that's my word of the year, in all situations, having had great conversations, having fed and fueled my body well, having engaged in movement, having great conversations, and certainly checking those boxes for my business and my finances. So that's my number one goal each day. And so I have to look back and say, when I make my food choices, when I pass by the bar, how am I going to measure my number one goal with my desire for instant gratification, my desire to feed and fuel that mental thought that thinks, oh my gosh, I've already paid for all-inclusive drinks, so I should drink, even though eliminating alcohol largely from my life is a big part of the goal that I'm working toward. So I had to remind myself of that, and I was quite proud of my results at the end of it. Now, my second big goal for the year is the launch of my High Altitude Habits Academy. And my journey over the last 3 years has really led to that, with really figuring out most specifically that I am a habits, a mindset, accountability, and action coach. That's why I've shifted to peak performance habits, because I know that it requires all of that to achieve what we want in business, to achieve what we want in good, solid relationships, to achieve what we want in our spiritual life, and certainly to achieve what we want in terms of health and overall fitness. So I realized through my business coaching, which largely turned into life coaching as well, that a lot of people deal with anxiety and they need to handle their thought and mindset work. Over the course of the 3 years, I launched the Pilot Wives podcast as well, and really engaged in a new community in terms of business and coaching and all of that. So really, my High Altitudes Habits Academy is geared around 3 specific areas. And those are the 3 I'm working on: health and fitness, relationships, and certainly career and money. So I ask you, what are your key areas in life? And what is a top goal that you have for each one? Are you a person that has a goal of 6-pack abs? And if you do, ask yourself why. Do that lesson on digging down into why you want that. And then how will you achieve that? What will you do? And what are you willing to do to accomplish this goal? Now, remember, I've said this, but goals are always going to contain resistance and desire for avoidance. So be very clear on your willingness to actually do the work and make sure that you have a personal investment in the why behind every goal that you have. This is where why comes in and becomes so important. So again, what areas of your life do you want to improve? Let's anchor in some key thoughts to move you toward that goal. So one of the things that you want to do first and foremost when you set a goal is state that goal clearly. Write it down, and then I want to encourage you to speak it into existence. Make it interactive. This is what's going to clarify it for you, crystallize it for you, and help you move beyond resistance and keep the motivation you have toward making that goal happen. You want to use third-person language. I think it's important to speak it both ways. I like to speak I am statements, but I also like to visualize it in third person. Jackie is. Now, this isn't hype. It comes from a Cornell University research study. It helps your brain see it and again, crystallize it and help you actually achieve it. So I'll give you an example. Jackie is committed to exceptional health and fitness, improving her muscle and fat ratio and shaping her body through daily weight resistance workouts, 15 to 30 minutes a day of very focused workouts. Jackie has released that 1 hour or nothing mentality and mantra that wasn't serving her. She's a solid intermittent faster and fuels her body with whole nutritious foods 98% of the time. And she no longer drinks alcohol as a regular part of her life. What that means, and you've heard me say it before, I've released that habit of opening a bottle of wine when I start dinner, or having a cocktail just because it's cocktail hour, or I'm with friends, or I'm at a party. I only engage in very intentional, very seldom drinking today, and I feel so much better. Now, I'm not shitting on any of you, so if you're listening and thinking, oh, I don't want that as part of my journey, I totally get it. A couple of years ago, I didn't either, until I realized that I did, and I realized that alcohol wasn't personally serving me any longer. Now, here's another example. Jackie is also traveling more in 2023 and using her travel to network, meet new people, and to do business workshops in different cities, states, and even countries. Her new workshop is called $1 Million Image and focuses on how to create your future self for success. And here's a side note. If you'd like to get on the wait list to learn more about that workshop, go to peakperformancehabits.com/MDI, as in $1 Million Image. peakperformancehabits.com/MDI. And I will have that in the show notes. Now, what happens to so many of us, and most of us really, when we set goals, is that we make a few key mistakes. And don't worry, don't beat yourself up. We all typically do this. So number one, we make the how of the goal everything, and we never define or very clear on the why. Now, example for me, bringing back up alcohol, is dry January. The first 2 years that I did dry January, which was 2020 and 2021, my only goal, really and truly, was to get from January 1st to January 31st without consuming alcohol. I didn't really factor in a why beyond that surface why. I didn't dig deep. I didn't define who it was that I wanted to become in the process. And remember what I mentioned at the very beginning about setting a goal. It's not so much the attainment of the goal, it's who we become along the way and what we learn about ourselves. But I didn't do that my first couple of years. And as I mentioned, the reality of alcohol for me these days is that just about any amount of drinking makes me tired almost immediately. My productivity and motivation plummets. I feel it. My sleep gets wrecked and it ruins much of my next day. And it's not because I have a hangover or I'm sick or even that I drank too much. It's just that alcohol no longer settles in my body like I used to think that it did. I lack motivation. I lose my sense of being present, and I certainly lose my focus. And I just don't like that anymore. Now, another mistake that a few of us often make is that we set too many goals. And you know this, and I know this, and that is a confused mind says no. Think of health goals on January 1st. We're so motivated. We set that goal. We're going to go to the gym for an hour every night after work, 5 days a week. We're going to pick back up to running, right? We're going to cut out sugar. We're going to cut out alcohol. We're going to cut out carbs. We're going to cut out fast food. And by day 3, it's complete overwhelm because our mind and our body is struggling to figure out what the heck we've done to it. Remember, we all have a primitive brain, and our primitive brain loves to keep us in homeostasis. It likes to keep things very status quo. So I'm going to encourage you to pick 1 to 3 goals, period. Because taking on too many means that in most cases, you'll fail at all of them and get nothing done. So let's look at how these might work together. And I'm just going to share my own personal process. For me, health is at the top of my list. That means feeling better in my body, having better sleep, and better motivation. So when I hit my daily goals for how I'm going to get this goal done, then I wake up fully charged to work on my marketing and launch of High Altitude Habits Academy. When I feel healthy, rested, and accomplished with those first 2 goals, then I show up better and present in my relationships. So hopefully you can see for me how health and fitness is at the core. It's the foundation of really achieving those other goals that I've set for myself. So fitness, finance, family, and friends. And of course, faith and fun fit in because I work on my mindset first. That's part of my faith journey. I always factor time in my day for my journaling and meditating and doing all of those important things. And I make sure that I have fun. And fun for me does include walking out in the desert, walking in nature. So I'm able to really hit on all of my 5 key areas through those 3 top goals that I have. Now, the next goal setting tip I have for you to avoid derailment and mistakes and to have success is to find your solid sweet spot on your goal. So I want you to set the goal, step back and look at it. Try it on for size. How does the goal feel? Does it feel too easy? Does it feel too hard? This is where it's important to be honest with yourself. Find what feels just right. Now, I want to encourage you to stretch yourself, certainly, and yet at the same time, don't go so big and so extreme that the resistance is overwhelming. Make sure that it's more than a dream because dreams have no timeline to them. We can sit around and dream all day, and I encourage you to do that, but then certainly set some goals around it because goals are designed to be specific, and you must believe it's possible and probable for you to achieve it. It's got to be possible and probable, but still ambitious. And there will always be resistance. Heck, one of mine is walking in the cold. It's winter in the desert. And even though I live in Scottsdale, we get pretty wimpy here because our blood thins. So getting up and thinking, am I going to do this first thing? I always have resistance. Can I do it? Of course. How I know this is because I have many, many times. Do I want to do it most mornings? No. And that's where my deeper why comes in. This is where it's so important to know your why. So when I wake up and say, oh, I'm going to put it off till later, question becomes, will I really do it later? And that's where I have to look at my goal. I have to look at that goal and my why. I want to have a fully functioning body. I want to become a centenarian. I've said that before. I want to live past 100. I want to be fully functional and fit. I want to travel, and I still want to make impact in the world. There's so many things that I want to do. So when I look at that bigger goal, it's easy for me to say, I can put on a sweatshirt, I can put on a hat and some gloves, and I can get out there and walk. And I always feel so great afterwards and check that goal of accomplished. So know your why and allow that deeper why to come in. Now, the next common mistake is not having a goal that is specific enough. And when it's too general, we have a tendency to fail at the goal. So start with asking, how will I know when I've succeeded with my goal? So again, for me, let's take health. Set my goal, and it's easily managed by tracking everything around health and fitness. I track what I eat. I track what I drink each and every day. I keep it in a food journal. And then I also work in my day timer. Did I get my my minimum 15 to 30-minute weight resistance workout done? And my goal for that is 5 to 6 days a week. And did I practice yoga 3 to 4 times a week? I track all of this in bright orange pen in my day timer. And if I don't accomplish it that day, I put a big orange 0 in that square. And I assure you, I don't like looking at that 0. So health and fitness is also about strong mental health to me. So again, I spend time daily journaling, meditating, walking in nature, practicing a gratitude and appreciation process, and visualizing my future self. Have you defined your future self? I promise you a show is coming on this, and of course, my $1 Million Image Workshop. So I'm going to remind you again to get on the wait list for that so that you're notified. peakperformancehabits.com/MDI. Now, here's another tip to keep you on track. If possible, give yourself a solid plan and a little bit of wiggle room. What do I mean by that? Well, I mentioned my weight workout goal is to work out with weights 5 out of 7 days a week. That gives me wiggle room. I've got 2 days in there that I can take a break. But typically on that day that I take a break, I'm going to be practicing yoga, because another one of my goals is to practice yoga 3 to 4 days. Sometimes it's gentle yoga. I like to stretch and move, and I feel like that's a healthy practice for my body. And of course, I walk and do all of that as well. So give yourself a low set point and a high set point range. A hard set number can derail you. So consider 2 to 4 days instead of just 3. Consider journaling 5 out of 7 days. If you're like me and you have alcohol on the radar, maybe for you getting started, you're going to set a goal to drink only 1 to 2 days a week instead of setting a goal of, I'm only going to drink on the weekends. This is very often what happens, is that we default to the weekend. But then what happens when that midweek surprise or birthday party or happy hour out with the colleagues or whatever pops up? If you'd like a little hope and encouragement and help, go to throttlebackthebottle.com. That's my 31-day reset program, throttlebackthebottle.com. And again, you can test it and try it out. The purpose of a goal is the journey and the self-discovery of what you learn about yourself. It's not necessarily having success every single day along the journey. And I cover this very specifically in Throttle Back the Bottle. If you've heard me talk about it before, you know, I had an epic fail my very first dry January. You'll learn more about that in that email series. Now, what about your desire for a goal and your belief around that goal? What aligns, and do the two align? Think about that. Desire and belief. So let's say you have a goal for yourself to hit $10,000 in your business this month. Is that a realistic goal? Set on that scale of 1 to 10, what's your desire level for that goal and what's the belief? And they must both be at a 10 or moving themselves toward a 10 in order for you to accomplish it. So do you know that your goal and your desire is inevitable for you? Do you feel that? Do you know the action steps it's going to take daily and weekly to get there? And have you factored that in? Let's build a ladder of believability. Let's say that your desire for your goal is at a 10, but your belief is only at a 2. Does that mean that you can never hit the $10,000 a month goal in your business? No, it doesn't mean that at all. It just is going to require building your belief and perhaps starting at a lesser amount. So let's start breaking down that goal. So the goal is $10,000 a month, but your belief is slightly off. What's been your best month so far in your business? It's easy to start there because we can easily believe it. We can believe just about anything we've accomplished already. Or it's a dollar amount that you've earned elsewhere. You can also believe that too. You can believe that you're capable and quote unquote worthy of making that amount. It's unfortunate that very often we tie our worthiness to our monetary success, but that's a whole nother show. So let's say that 2,000 is the dollar amount that you started on or that you've settled on as what's believable. So we're going to focus on that for your first month, and you're going to lay out the plan, get clear on your why, get clear on the action steps, and then execute on those action steps to work and get there. What's possible then for month 2? $3,000 or $4,000? How about that? How about month 3? $5,000, and we're going to build on that all the way up to $10,000. Now, again, resistance is going to happen. You might take a step backwards. Month 3, you might not hit that goal, but you know that it's possible and probable if you keep building that belief ladder. You're building it and you're reinforcing it. And then it's important for you to be clear on what you control and what you don't. And this is where I like to use the Abraham Hicks placemat process. Now, it doesn't matter who invented this. I'm just going to give you the tool itself and explain how it works. Get out a sheet of paper and draw a line down the center of that paper. On the left side, and I want you to make this small, only put what you can do for the day. I want you to list what you intend to do today. And I like to use really and truly no more than 3 action steps on my to-do list. So write down on the left side what you intend to do today. And on the right side, I want you to tell the universe what you want it to begin to work on for you. Maybe it's 2 new clients. Maybe it's a dollar amount. Maybe it's a new job. Whatever it is, I want you to write down what you intend to do on the left side and what you'd like the universe to go to work for you on behalf of on the right side. And then it's important that you believe, that you have faith, that what you've started is going to come to fruition. So that's where you have to get to work on doing what you intend to do, and you have to get out of the way of the universe to do its work. This is the challenging part, and it's so important that you stay out of lack mode over this. Don't keep looking for it. Don't fall back into doubt thinking, oh, I put it out there, but it hasn't happened yet. You want to remove that negative belief system by breaking it down in your goal sheet into bite-sized chunks. You've got a big goal, and then you've got those smaller goals that will get you there. This is what builds on that ladder of belief. And then I want you to practice gratitude for what you have and how you've arrived at where you are right now today. As you build that belief ladder and climb that belief ladder, you're going to celebrate every rung along the way as you climb. You're going to set yourself up some reminders daily. I do that through my future self letter. I wrote at the very beginning of the year a letter from my future self on December 31st of 2023, looking back. I talk to myself right now and I encourage myself. Another reminder daily is your to-do list. Maybe it's your vision board or a dream book. Put Post-it notes on your mirror, visual cues around you that remind you of your intention and what you're going to do and what you're working toward. And then practice repetition. Repetition is what builds and reinforces habits, our thoughts, our feelings, our mantras, daily mirror work. Do you practice mirror work? I'll do a show on that where you absolutely look in the mirror, you look yourself in the eye, and you talk to yourself in a very positive, motivating way. You tell yourself how great you are, what you're working toward, and then rehearse. Visualize your achievement and everything about it. I did that just this morning with my mirror work. I stood to face with myself in the mirror, talked about how amazing I was, how awesome I was, what I had created, what I was experiencing, how it was making impact. And I did it with passion in my voice. Living it in your mind creates the emotion of having it. You're going to create a memory now as your brain doesn't know the difference. I did this a lot after I left Ventura and my place 3 blocks off the beach, where every single day, just about, I got up and took a walk along the beach, looking out at the ocean, feeling such inspiration and gratitude. And when I left that location and moved back to Scottsdale, Arizona, I had the desert and I had the boulders, that amazing rock formation not far from me, and I learned to use those. But I also learned to close my eyes and conjure up that feeling of walking the beach. I learned to smell the smell of the salty air, to hear the seagulls, okay, to feel the ocean wind on me, to smell that salty air, to experience all of that. And pretty soon I realized I could live at the beach in my mind anytime I wanted it. And honestly, I could create such a sense of positive emotion and feeling that I no longer felt deprived. I no longer missed the beach like I thought I was going to. So remember, your goal has seasons. Spring, typically, is for planting. And summer is all about watering and nurturing and having faith that toward the fall, harvest is going to come up. And winter is when we get to truly enjoy and experience the fruits of our labor. Okay, that's the enjoyment phase, and planning for the next season. And that's a new way to look at winter, okay, when things die off and peel back. If you've done your job in spring and summer and fall, you can enjoy the bounty of the harvest through that time as you plan and prepare for the next season. I'm Jackie Almer. Thanks for listening. I want you to know I think of you often with deep love and appreciation. Have a great day. Sometimes creating the life we want can seem challenging, and we're uncertain where to begin. Would you like a co-pilot on your journey? I've been the co-pilot in my life, marriage, and business coaching for years, and I would love to be yours. Learn more at peakperformancehabits.com/tools and get ready to upgrade your life. Your first class boarding pass awaits.